Good afternoon everyone. As you know that yesterday we have started the topic female reproductive system. Today also we shall continue with the same. Okay. We have done the diagram of human reproductive system. I am drawing it once again because now we have to study the rest parts. A few parts we have discussed. The rest we shall discuss in today's class. Okay. Firstly, as you know, there is uterus. Okay, I have drawn the uterus. Clear? After that, I am drawing the fallopian tube. And I told you while drawing the fallopian tube, firstly you have to make the lumen narrow. Lumen means the cavity. Okay. After that, broad. And after that, a funnel-shaped structure. And at the end of this funnel-shaped structure, finger-like projections are present. I am drawing it in the similar way on that side. A narrow lumen, then widen, and then funnel-shaped structure, which is having finger-like projections at the end. Fine, this we have done. So here we are having the ovary, and the ovaries, they are connected with the pelvic wall and the uterine wall with the help of ligaments. So here I am just making the ligaments. This is how your ovary is attached. Clear? This is uterus, and this is your fallopian tube. Okay. Individual parts we shall discuss. This is fallopian tube, and fallopian tube is also known as oviduct. Now, next we are having cervix here, like this. So this is cervix, and here you can just imagine there is a canal-like structure. Right? This is known as cervical canal. Canal is a duct-like structure, tube-like structure, and then at the last, vagina is there. So basically, if I talk about the female reproductive system, then 5 parts are there. Ovary. Structure of ovary we have discussed in yesterday's lecture. Okay. Second is fallopian tube. Today we will discuss this structure. Second is fallopian tube, which is also known as oviduct. Third is uterus. Fourth is cervix. And the last one is vagina. So one by one we have to discuss these structures. Ovary we have done. Let us talk about the fallopian tube. If you see the fallopian tube, while making the diagram I just told you, firstly you have to draw the tube having narrow lumen. You can see the lumen is narrow. And after that I told you just broaden the lumen like this. And then I told you just make a funnel shaped structure. A funnel is like this, na? Okay, it is getting broadened at the end. So after that you have to make the funnel-like structure, and at the end of the funnel-like structure we are having finger-like projections. So basically from here, if I talk about the different parts of the fallopian tube, this is your first part. Okay, don't consider this as your first part. From here your part will start. First, second part, third part. First part, that is funnel shaped, second part that is broadened, and third part that is having narrow lumen. Clear? The first part that is broadened and having finger-like projections. This part is known as infundibulum. Okay, so here this part, this is known as infundibulum. I can say this is the part which is in close proximation with the ovary. Okay, this part is having finger-like projection, and these finger-like projections, they are known as fimbriae. These finger-like projections, which are a protrusion of the infundibulum, they are known as fimbriae. And what is their function? They are used to collect the ovum. The ovary will release the ovum, you know. The ovum will be captured by these fimbriae, like with the help of your fingers you can capture something. In the similar way, these fimbriae, they will capture the ovum, so that your ovum, it may not get lost in the pelvic cavity. So now, the second part here, which is broadened, this part is known as ampulla. Ampulla is the broader part of the fallopian tube. And last one is this part, isthmus. The part which is having narrow lumen, and it is in close proximation with the uterus. You can just see. Infundibulum, it is in close proximation with the fimbriae and the ovary. The broadened part of the fallopian tube is your ampulla, and the narrow part is isthmus, which is in continuation with the uterus after that. Is it fine? So basically what will happen, the ovary will release the ovum, the fimbriae will collect the ovum, and the ovum will move here. Now just think and tell me one thing, ovum is motile or non-motile? Till now we used to say male gamete is motile, sperm is motile, but now I am using the ovum will be collected by the fimbriae and the ovum will move like this. Can ovum move? Your answer should be no. Ovum is non-motile. Ovum is not moving on its own. Actually, in the fallopian tube, ciliated columnar epithelium is present. Okay, here. This you have done in class 11. In the fallopian tube, cells are present, and these cells are having cilia. Now what will happen? The cilia will move, and as a result they will move the ovum. Ovum itself is non-motile, but here the cilia, they are helping in the movement of the ovum, and as a result the ovum will move and it will reach here. Is it fine? Now let us talk about the third part, that is uterus, this part. Till now we have discussed about the ovary, the connections of the ovary, and then now we have discussed about the fallopian tube. About their functions in detail we have to study in the process of fertilization. Let me erase it a little bit. Okay. So this is uterus. Uterus is inverted pear shape. Now let me draw the shape of a pear, and then you can imagine that yes, it is inverted pear shape. Let me draw the pear first. Just see. The shape of a pear is like this. Right? Somewhat like this. Just invert it. If you invert it, the broader portion will come upward and the narrower portion will come downward. It will be somewhat like that. Right? The broader portion is upward and the narrower portion is downward. So somewhat it is resembling, the uterus is resembling the shape of an inverted pear. Now, next point, uterus is also known as womb. Basically, this is the place where the baby will get matured for the 9 months. You know that in human the gestation period is of 9 months. So here in the uterus, basically implantation will be there, gestation period will be there. Okay. So now, implantation, gestation we have to discuss in detail. Right now we are talking about the parts of the reproductive system. So, this is the uterus, Now the uterus is having three linings: perimetrium, myometrium, endometrium. Okay, this uterus is having three linings: perimetrium, myometrium, and last one is endometrium. From the name you can imagine which one will be the inside. Endometrium. So endometrium is inside. In the middle we are having myometrium, and at the outer end we are having perimetrium. Now let me draw it. This is the uterus. Okay, let me erase this. The outer layer, this one. Outer layer. This is perimetrium. Clear? The middle layer, it is made up of muscles. Now can you think why the middle layer is made up of muscles? And basically smooth muscles. This middle layer is made up of smooth muscles. This middle layer is myometrium. Now let me tell you why is it made up of muscles. As I told you, for the period of 9 months, the fetus will be there in the uterus. Now suppose after 9 months, parturition will be there, or in simple words I can say the delivery of the fetus will be there. Now these muscles of the myometrium, they will contract. You know muscles, they are having the property of contraction, relaxation. So what will happen, these muscles which are present in the myometrium, smooth muscles, they will contract. As a result, the fetus will be expelled out of the body through the cervix and through the vagina. Is it fine? The fetus is there in the uterus for the 9 months. After that, the myometrium, they will start contracting, relaxing, as they are made up of muscles. If they won't have been made up of muscles, then this thing won't be possible actually, because muscles are doing the function of contraction and relaxation. So they will contract, and as a result the fetus will undergo parturition or delivery, and it will come out through the cervical canal and the vagina. Is it fine? Now the innermost layer, this is endometrium, and this is very important layer basically. This innermost layer is endometrium. Why this is very important? Because in the menstrual cycle, this layer undergoes cyclic changes. Okay, actually what happened, menstrual cycle also we have to discuss. I'm just telling you in brief. During the menstrual cycle, there are changes in the hormones. Hormonal level get changed. And as a result, this endometrium undergoes several changes. Sometimes it thickens up. Sometimes it gets broken and all the blood, it comes out through the vagina in the form of the blood, mucus and everything. So this endometrium undergoes cyclic changes. It prepares itself for the fertilization. It gets thickened. It gets filled with the blood. And if there is no fertilization, it will get rupture. Then the blood will come out through the cervix and vagina in the form of menses that you know. Clear? About this, the whole process we shall discuss in later on classes. So these are the three linings of the uterus. Outer one is perimetrium, middle one is myometrium, and the inner one is endometrium. Clear? If I talk about the cervix and the vagina, let me clear it a little bit. Okay. So here, cervix is there, and there is cervical canal, and then vagina, right? So basically I can say this cervical canal and vagina, the cervical canal and vagina, they are forming birth canal. Now can you just think why? Why these two are forming birth canal? Because this is a canal from which the parturition will take place. The baby will get the birth. This is your cervical canal, vagina like this. So as you know, the fetus is in the uterus. After the completion of the gestation period, it will come like this. So that's why the cervical canal and the vagina togetherly they form the birth canal. Is it fine? Now, if I talk about the female external genitalia, this is all about the reproductive system, and this is present inside the pelvic area, that is the lower abdominal area. Now, this thing you can't see from the outside. Okay, the whole reproductive system is present inside the pelvic region, but there is a part that can be seen from the outside environment, and that is known as external genitalia. So now let us study the structure of the female external genitalia. So now, in the female external genitalia, 5 parts are present. Mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and last one is clitoris. So one by one we shall study about them. So these are the 5 parts that can be seen from the outside. These are the parts of the female external genitalia: mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, hymen, and clitoris. Clear? Now let me explain this a little bit with a diagram. Now let us talk about the female external genitalia. So first of all, first part is mons pubis. This is a fatty cushion-like structure which is present on the top. Okay, here. This is mons pubis, and it is fatty cushion-like structure. And over the mons pubis, hair are present, and they are known as the pubic hair. Clear? Now, this is the first part. Second part is labia majora. We have discussed the name now. Mons pubis. Second is labia majora. Now, from this mons pubis, from this fatty cushion-like structure, 2 folds will arise. They are also fatty in nature. One here. Okay. And second here. These are again 2 fatty cushion-like structure, and these are known as labia majora. Clear? These 2 are fatty cushion-like structure, and they are having pubic hair. Now, if you see under this labia majora, then third part, that is labia minora, is present. It is again a fold. It is having 2 folds, but it is not having pubic hair. The mons pubis was having hair, the labia majora was having pubic hair, but the labia minora, it is not having the pubic hair, and it is present under the labia majora like this. Oh, sorry, like this. Okay, 2 folds are there, 1 and 2, and pubic hair are not present in this area, and this is labia minora. Clear? Now, fourth part is hymen. Basically, in the female reproductive system, we have discussed about the vagina. So here is the vaginal opening. Okay, here is the vaginal opening, and this opening is sometimes it is enclosed within hymen. So basically in the hymen encloses the vaginal opening, but the hymen is not present in all the female. After the first sexual intercourse, this hymen get torn. Okay, in that female, the hymen won't be present. But sometimes if a female is doing horse riding, some kind of physical exercise, this hymen, it may got torn at that time also. Or using the vaginal tampons. What are tampons? Basically, vaginal tampons. Generally in India, the female, in order to collect the menstrual blood, they used to use cotton pads. Okay, but tampons are also available for this purpose in order to collect the menstrual flow. How they work actually? They are having this structure, and here is a thread. So this tampon, it can be inserted inside the vaginal opening. They can be inserted through the vaginal opening into the vagina. So sometimes what happens when the vaginal tampons, they are inserted in the vagina by the female during the menstrual time. So these tampons, they might rupture the hymen. So hymen can get torn due to a variety of reasons. Okay. Now next is clitoris. At the junction of these two, these are labia minora. At the junction of the labia minora here, a finger-like structure is present that is known as clitoris. Here. Okay, this gets excited during the time of sexual intercourse. So these are the different parts of the female external genitalia. Mons pubis, a fatty cushion-like structure which is having the pubic hair. Labia majora, two folds of fleshy cushion-like structure which are again having the pubic hair. Labia minora, under the labia majora, two folds of labia minora are present and they are not having the pubic hair. Then hymen, it is a flap-like structure which covers the vaginal opening, but yes, it is not necessary that it will present all that time. Due to certain cases, it get torn. And last one is clitoris, finger-like structure which is present at the junction of the labia minora. And one more thing in the female, the opening for the menstrual flow and the opening for the urination, they are different. The vagina is the opening that is related with the menstrual blood flow, and there is another opening which is related with the urination. But in case of male, single opening was there which was present at the surface of the penis, that was working for both function, for the ejaculation of urine as well as for the sperm. But in case of female, two different openings are there, vaginal opening and the urethral opening. Fine. So this is external genitalia. Now the next part is mammary gland. These all parts, they are playing a very important role in process of ovulation, fertilization, implantation. So next one is mammary gland. If I talk about the human female, then two mammary glands are there, means they occur in pair. If I talk about the structure, if I talk about the function, then you are aware of mammary gland. They produce milk in case of female. In case of human female, the mammary gland is active. It is functionally active. But in case of human male, it is present, but it is not functionally active. In male also mammary gland is present, but it is functionally inactive. And in female, it is functionally active. But we have read in chapter number 5. Actually, what happens in human male sometimes? There is a problem called gynecomastia. In this condition, in the male, the mammary gland, it will start developing and it will be functionally active. This is a disorder. This is not a normal case. Otherwise, in normal life, the mammary gland of the female is functionally active. Clear? But it is present in both. Now, if I talk about its structure, its function is to secrete the milk for the infant. If I talk about its structure, okay, this is a cross-sectional view of the female mammary gland. Firstly, there is a fatty tissue, that is adipose tissue. Okay. So firstly, adipose tissue is there, or I can say the fatty tissue is there. And here there is a protrusion which is known as nipple. Basically, from here only the infant will suck the blood. All the ducts, they will get open in the nipple only. About the ducts we shall study now. All the ducts, they will get open here only, and the milk can be sucked by the infant from this area. And if you see near this area, near the nipple area, a darker colored structure is there, that is known as areola. Basically, areola is touch sensitive. When the fetus is about to suck the blood, then this areola will send the messages to the brain, and the brain will release the hormones that are released for the ejaculation of the milk, for the formation of the milk. Okay, so this is the human mammary gland. At the tip there is a darker portion, otherwise the normal skin color is there, but this area is a little bit darker and is known as areola, which is touch sensitive. And at the tip there is present nipple, which is used by the infant to suck the blood from the body of the, to suck the milk from the body of the mother. Clear? Now, if I talk about the structure of the mammary gland, then there is present fatty tissue, or I can say the adipose tissue. Second, you know about the function of the mammary gland. Mammary gland is responsible for the formation of milk, right? So inside, obviously, there must be present certain structure that are related with the formation of milk. So in the mammary gland, 15 to 20 lobes are present. 15 to 20 like this. Mammary lobes. Clear? Firstly, there is adipose tissue, and then in between the adipose tissue there is present 15 to 20 mammary lobes. If I talk about the structure of a mammary lobe, then there are cells like this. Okay, this is the cluster of these cells. They are known as alveoli. These cells are known as alveoli. Clear? This is mammary lobe. The cells are there in the mammary lobe. The cells are known as alveoli. And inside you can see there is an empty space. Now what will happen? The cells of the alveoli, they will form milk, and the milk will collect in this lumen. Am I fine? So here 15 to 20 lobes are present. The lobes are having cell known as alveoli, and in the center there is a cavity. Alveoli will form the milk, and the milk will get secreted and stored here in this area. Now, when the milk has to be sucked by the infant, obviously this blood which is stored here, it must reach here to the nipple. So it is reaching there with the help of duct. What will happen from the individual mammary lobe? As you know, 15 to 20 mammary lobes are there. From individual lobe, a duct will arise. That duct will carry the milk. This duct is known as mammary lobule. Mammary lobule means the duct that is arising from the individual mammary lobe. This is mammary duct. Mammary lobule. Is it fine? So from individual lobe, mammary lobule will arise. From individual. Now what will happen? After that they will get merged. Suppose these two get merged. Now here, this result in the formation of mammary duct. when the mammary lobule of certain ducts of certain lobes get joined, it results in the formation of a duct which is known as mammary duct. Suppose here also they will join, mammary duct will form. Now as a result, all the mammary duct will get fused. Just see here, 15 to 20 lobes are there. From 15 to 20 lobes, 15 to 20 mammary lobule will arise. These are the duct only. Now these duct will join and form the mammary duct. Now all the mammary duct will join and it results in the formation of a single duct, that is lactiferous duct, that will open in the nipple area, and when the baby is going to suck from here, from the lactiferous duct, the milk will be sucked by the infant. Is it fine? So this is about the mammary gland. Thank you.